Hello readers, this is Justin's 52 Books, where I discuss my selections for the 52 Book Club's 2022 Reading Challenge. This is week 20 and I'm talking today about Prompt 41, a book that involves a second chance. The book in question is To Your Scattered Bodies Go by Phillip José Farmer, which was published in 1971. Back in December, when I first started looking at the prompts for 2022, I saw the challenge for books that involve a second chance, and I immediately thought of To Your Scattered Bodies Go. I knew that it was on a bunch of best of science fiction novel lists, and I knew that it had to do with life after death, and I knew that Farmer was a bit of an out there writer, but I didn't know much else about it. A word about Farmer. I couldn't get through his Riders of the Purple Rage story in Dangerous Visions when I tried to read Dangerous Visions. I know he won a Hugo Award for it. I know that a lot of people thought it was really, really good, but I'm not sure if it was the subject matter or if it was the off-putting James Joyce style that I didn't care for. I'm not a big James Joyce fan. But I didn't care for his contribution to Harlan Ellison's anthology there. But none of that nonsense, that James Joyce nonsense, was in To Your Scattered Bodies Go. I can't deny, I really liked this book. And that's especially curious to me, considering that there's plenty of reasons not to like the book. There's a bunch of mid-70s throwback cultural moire crap that I had to say I pretty much expected. There's a main character who is utterly incapable of being incapable. And then, for lack of better words, there's a lot of self-assured conquest in the book. You know, just let's go take their stuff. Yeah, it's kind of akin to its contemporaries. Larry Niven's Ringworld, mid-career Heinlein, Robert Silverberg, that kind of stuff. But for what it is, it's fun and enjoyable and not as idiotically jaunty as some of those other works. I'm looking at you, Ringworld. Sometimes people make apologies for old science fiction writers because it was the ideas and not the writing that was appealing. And I kind of get that. But sometimes that means problematic subject matter. And sometimes it doesn't. And in the case of To Your Scattered Bodies Go, you get a product that is of its time, but not entirely held back by its time or undercut by its time. And from that perspective, it's great. So what's it about? Well, unlike many other books I discuss where I really don't mind going into details about the book, and without much concern about spoilers, I figure if you're here, you know what you're getting. To Your Scattered Bodies Go is so dependent on its mysteries and its reveals that I really don't want to go into that level of detail, and I want to watch what I say and not focus on the plot so much. Rather, here are some observations in case you haven't read it or are considering reading it. Most of the characters are culled from real life. The main character, Richard Burton, he was a British explorer and allegedly the first white man to have visited Mecca. His love interest in the book is Alice Liddell from Alice in Wonderland fame, and so forth. Farmer literally collects the dead for his speculative story about life after death. Second, as mentioned above, there's a ton of mystery and reveal that the book really thrives on. What's the purpose of these things? What did that person mean by that? Where does that thing go? And what happens when the main character eats this, and so forth? You get the idea. All these questions are thrown out there, and the answers are all metered out over time and as you read the book. And that's hard for writers to do well. There are many a mystery writer that I have read that I wish could do what Farmer does in To Your Scattered Bodies Go. I wish they could do it half as well. And that says something about Farmer and about To Your Scattered Bodies Go. Seriously, if you liked Lost or the old Prisoner TV show, or even something like Twin Peaks, this would have appeal for you. Finally, the story. As I noted above, it's of its time without being held back by its time. And that is to say that there's not a whole lot of self-evaluation here, and there's a whole lot of ego-driven first-person assurance. That leads to a fun adventure and a grand exploration on the merits and motives of people. But maybe not the self, but maybe that's okay once in a while. You couple that with biblical allusions and a mysterious stranger or two, and one has a lot to enjoy in To Your Scattered Bodies Go. As I understand it, this is the first of 5 of the River World books, and like many science fiction book series, it seems, with few exceptions. I hear there is a fall off in quality and enjoyment as you go forward. I'll keep that in mind, but I do think I'll be continuing with the River World series. It was a fun book and really kind of surprised me. Besides, Farmer writes such a compelling Burton that I'm half afraid the old chap will come alive and beat me with his fisticuffs if I don't keep reading. Thanks for watching my thoughts on To Your Scattered Bodies Go by Phillip José Farmer. This has been week 20 of Justin's 52 Books, and I was talking about Prompt 41, a book that involves a second chance. For more information on all of the prompts of the 52 Book Club, you can check them out on their website, the52bookclub.com. You can also check them out on Goodreads and Facebook. You can also check me out on Goodreads and Storygraph. I hope to see you next week for Prompt 31, a technology-themed book. Not too hard for a science fiction fan, but I put a twist on it this time, and I did a play. Until then, happy reading.